Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today. I'm Paul Sweeney alongside Norah Mulinda.
I do want to turn to Tim Craighead, and he's based in London. He's joining us via Zoom. He's a research director for content for Bloomberg Intelligence, and I'm looking at this story that's out right now and lots of really interesting illustrations, but the story is called Banking, Booze, and 007 Wheels, 10 companies to watch right now. Paul, I have no idea where this is going. I'm so curious just based off the headline alone.
Let's do it.
But Tim, contextualize this for us. Tell us, what is this list?
These 10 ideas are all part of a broader list of what we call focus ideas. Focus ideas are where our analysts around the globe, across regions, across sectors, have high conviction, fundamental points of view that they think are different from what the market thinks, anti-consensus, and importantly, there are catalysts coming up that we think can change market perceptions. And these 10 all have important catalysts coming up during the third quarter.
Tim, what I like about these ideas, because people are always looking for ideas, long and short. You guys have the ideas, and what I really like about this research format is you have the triggers. What has to happen in order for this call to work on a particular stock? Aston Martin. What's the call here on Aston Martin?
The call on Aston Martin, as much as I like the cars, and obviously this is where the 007 reference comes from, they've got a really interesting new lineup of vehicles, but they're short on V12s. And notwithstanding the world of EVs and all that sort of stuff, the high-end V12s from Ferrari and Lamborghini are hot. And you look at the inventory levels of Aston Martin on the lots, they're too high. We think that there's a capital infusion that's likely needed in coming months. And so we actually have a cautious view on Aston Martin from that perspective.
Booze, Dagio, what's the story there?
Dagio, it ties in a little bit with a couple of ideas here. I mentioned Aston Martin. That's obviously a high-end consumer idea. And even though we're concerned about Aston Martin specifically, the high-end luxury vehicle market is good. Similarly with Dagio, high-end booze, high-end spirits, they are the world's largest spirits manufacturer, is doing relatively well. Their recent sales trends have been robust. We think that's going to continue to show through. There has been concern about things like tariffs and what could be the impact, especially from a U.S. consumer base. We're less concerned and we're optimistic. Another consumer higher end idea you guys know and love in the States is Dick's Sporting Goods. This is a classic good old consumers growth story where not only do you know the store, but you might have been in one of their new bigger formats where they have, that much more kit. Their sales trends continue to be quite good despite concerns about what are tariffs going to mean for consumer here or there. So, those are all consumer ideas. There's certainly a common thread there.
You mentioned Dick's, and I'm looking at EasyJet, which of course we know is a low-cost British airline, and we have a sunny outlook here. But what do you think will be the most surprising call here for readers?
Yeah, it's interesting. In this instance, obviously this is not the high-end consumer. This is everyday consumer. This isn't so much about the demand, which actually demand for travel and experience continues to be pretty good. This is more of a story on an operational basis. They're replacing a lot of older planes with newer planes that have bigger capacity. They're much more fuel efficient. So this is a margin story. EasyJet has historically lagged behind Ryanair, the other low-cost carrier here in Europe. We think that that's set to change.
Tim, you live and work in London, but as most of our listeners can tell, you're not an Englishman. You're from the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Talk to us. Are the tourists, is it as crazy in London this year as it's been in recent years? What's the tourism factor there in London these days?
The quick answer is yes, notwithstanding the fact that the pound is actually pretty robust as of late. Streets are busy. It's true in the city. Walk out the door here. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the new Friday. And it has been a warm summer. But, this is also the time for Wimbledon. And beyond that, it's just been busy with people coming from all over the world, whether it's China, whether it's the U.S. This seems to be a hot ticket. Still feels pretty good.
You mentioned the pound sterling, but the euro, 117, that gets your attention.
Yeah, it does. From our perspective, this is a weak dollar story as opposed to stronger other currency story. And we think that there's more legs to this. One of the big themes that comes up in all the investor discussions or events that I'm at is the long-standing premise of American exceptionalism. You pop money in U.S. bonds, U.S. stocks, and they take money off. Is that holding?
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.